Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcoring Guides, being my guide for God Hand on hard difficulty. Today we're doing stage 2-1 entitled Demons Playing with Fire. This one is a multi-part stage. There's going to be a door in between this section and the next section, but we'll talk about that when we get to there. And starting off, there's that big fireball that's going to be coming toward you. That'll be launched toward you every once in a while. I really wouldn't worry about that too much. And just kind of stick back here. Don't go past the corner, because if you go past that corner, she'll pretty much just activate, and that's kind of something we don't really want to have happen. And I like to taunt the first guy so that I can bring him closer to me, closer to where the door I'm at right now is. And then luckily enough, you can just pick these three off individually if you wanted to. And yes, you can kick them into the fire. It will do a little bit of damage and somewhat of a, I guess you could say like a tad bit of a stun. It's not necessarily a stun, but it causes them to go into an animation of them burning. And this only really works against just normal human enemies and not specifically demons. So, did some testing, you know, that kind of thing. And I come over here to take him out just to, you know, hope that I might get something that might drop. Which it did. I got an orb, which is nice. And these two guys will always typically come after you as soon as you walk up in this area. These next three right here, this Mohawk guy and the two whip, or I think one of them's a whip lady, the two ladies over here, they will only come after you once I think you've killed those two guys and you're still within the same area. These ones are much harder to deal with, and as you saw, I threw the barrel and I ran up as fast as I could and hit up triangle to make sure I do like a front kick. I wasn't really expecting to have that happen, but it worked out. Now, one thing you could always do is, if you're confident with yourself, you could always just activate God Hand in the middle of all 5 of these enemies at once, and then go with a move like that to kill them all off. But I'm not the most confident within that, and I felt like the barrel made more sense. Granted, you could just save the barrel for the 3 enemies after the 2, but I don't know. I still got away with it. I got lucky, so it's just kind of how it happens, I guess. This guy, you just want to pick him off by himself. He's a normal fat guy, but with a blade, and they don't really do much differently. I mean, yeah, the attacks are different, the animations are different, yes, but for the most part, these guys are not that bad, especially if you know how to fight the fat guys already, which by now, you know, you already fought plenty enough. And which reminds me, if you've made it to stage 2, congratulations, because the next hardest part of the game is going to be in stage 4, so you've got plenty of time to kind of learn God Hand a little bit better and kind of get used to things a bit better and save your money or whatever you need to, because once you get past Mr. Gold, Mr. Silver, at that point, you're basically good until stage 4. And there's 2 bosses in stage 4. Basically the Virgil of the game, whose name I forget all the time. Eisen or something, I think. There's him, and then there's Dr. Ion. I believe that's also in stage 4. And those guys are assholes. But luckily we take care of them, so don't worry. I got you covered there. I know how to deal with them. This guy, I just run up here, run up the stairs, and I just taunt him to get him to activate and come toward me. Pretty much, once again, just separating enemies from each other so I don't have to deal with groups. Which, that's one thing that I like about this game, is the fact that I can just kind of play around with groups if I wanted to, or I don't have to. Very Shinji Mikami-like, if I do say so myself. And by that I mean basically in reference to Resident Evil 4, where I feel like with Resident Evil 4, even though you're always fighting a group of enemies, like typically if you shoot somebody, everybody else is going to come running toward you. Even though that's a group fight game, I still feel like the ability of, like, the amount of power you have in RE4 to take out groups is just impressive. And God Hand, in my opinion, feels basically just the same. Real quick, if you don't want a demon to spawn, just reload the checkpoint. Just die, reload, whichever one you want, you know. And that reminds me, when you come to this area, I forgot to talk about it, actually. When you come into this door, I believe that counts as a checkpoint. So if you do die and continue with a death, then you should start back in here. However, if you don't continue and reload your save, you'll obviously go back to the beginning of the stage, because that's where your save's at. So if you don't want to deal with the demon, that's perfectly fine and understandable. By the way, one thing I forgot is I bought Mule Kick. It's not necessary. I mean, it's just something that I bought back in the day, and I was like, you know what, that works. So I forgot that I bought it, and I put it on my back X. It's not necessarily the most helpful thing for me, but I completely forgot I bought it. I usually buy it around stage 2. It's just a nice, quick, easy launcher that is like a pretty good early game launcher, but the one you really want to go for is Flying Knee. That's the one you're going to really want to have. So, once you take out the demon, or take out these enemies downstairs, or whatever, you're going to have this guy. Once again, just leave the civilians. They're fine. This guy, you know, once again, when it comes to club enemies, typically just dodging up, and if you want to have them continue using the club, if you feel like that's safer, you know, by all means go right ahead. You don't have to do exactly what I did, but I like taking that chance. I don't mind, because I'm used to fighting elites. And that's the one thing I should mention real quick, though, is my guides are not perfect because I do things probably differently than other people. Not that I'm, like, so special that I'm so different. No. I mean, like, I might do something different than you do, or something different than another guide person does. You know, that might seem a little bit more weird and not that good. So, again, I never want to say that I'm a professional at anything. I'm just an average guy who is capable of finding out how to beat these games and then just, you know, giving back to the community, or just, you know, having a bit of fun with it and showing that I can do it, and at the same time, yeah. Also, I'd recommend saving that club for these guys and not wasting it on the big elite guy that I fought earlier, which I don't know what kind of elite that I would consider them. They're just bigger elite than the regular ones. Because this guy in the yellow and purple, these Wario colors, this guy is an elite. And then the guy is bigger than him, the red guy, I don't know what you call that, but either way. They typically have somewhat different attacks, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, if you lose health or whatever, unless you didn't, you get more money. But regardless, typically these civilians typically drop health for you whenever you need it, which is nice. Anyway, that's it for this. So take care, everybody.